So a little bit about minor pentatonic. As a guitar player, you really can't get away from using it. It's just too good not to. But practicality of minor pentatonic and some things to work on, if you will, that get you out of which is necessary, of course. Practicing just with a metronome and going through the motions and getting the chops up, to a reasonable speed. But at some point, that you have to pull the vocabulary out of minor pentatonic, and or at least have some things to do, to quote Lloyd Jones, so that you can grow from that vocabulary. And so one thing I thought I would talk about is kind of the shape of it. I'm in A minor pentatonic. And so our shape is that. And as you've heard me talk about before, I tend to not think that way as far as limiting myself to just minor pentatonic. We kind of have to know it, but once you know it, you have to figure out what other notes you want to play with it. I think the major no-brainer to minor pentatonic would be kind of moving more towards a what's referred to as a blues scale with the flat 5, or adding flat 5, 1, flat 7, 5, flat 5, 4, 3, well, flat 3, root, flat 7, 5, flat 5, 4, 3, and 1. So you can limit yourself to just playing minor pentatonic or practicing minor pentatonic, but you'll find that it's hard to stay in minor pentatonic because the options you have for licks are going to be a lot less than if you just add a note or two. But another thing to note is the 9. 9 is a whole step from 1. And so you can add that, really, if you only add it to the first string, you'll have a lick or a whole series of licks that you wouldn't have had option with if you stayed in minor pentatonic, because you wouldn't have a 9. And Lord knows some hammer-ons are always nice too. So if you just add that to the first string for now, it's hard not to see that flat 3 there. As well, which isn't in the shape. It is down here, but that's the shape. So you want to think of adding the 9 and the flat 3 to that first string. So even if the 9 and the flat 3 is in the first octave and the second, but even if you only add it to the first string in your working use and the 9 on the first string, you'll get a lot more use out of the shape. All of that stuff. And so just think about that when you're practicing minor pentatonic, to see that 9, to try to bend the 9. Maybe slide up to the root again. Playing that minor 3. And that's, you can see I'm getting out of position, and that's part of what I wanted to talk about. You can play the 1 on the first string out of your minor pentatonic shape, but the reality is the lower the strings you use, the more tone you get because they're thicker. That 1 on the B string is a little more rounded of a note, and so you get a better sound up there on the root, but 2, you can use licks that incorporate it, even something as simple as all I'm doing is 5, 6, 1, 1 again, instead of going 5, 6, 1, 1 again, which somebody can do, that's fine. But you don't get the effect of sliding up, and then you don't get the beefy note. But what you want to see when you slide up to that 1, and this is out of major shape, the 1 being there, When you slide up there, you want to slide up there on your ring finger. Whatever lick you're doing to get you there, but you want to slide up there. Even if that's just how you start the lick, instead of going. But if one's there, you want to see that flat 3 above the root, or the 1 again. You want to see it, and that's a minor third shape, right? If the root is here, that's a minor third from it. But if the root is here, which is the same note as here, the minor third, you might notice that minor third shape. And so you get something to where you're going, which is used all over the place. You can just go on and on and on. That it's kind of an Albert King thing, I would say, but to end your phrasing on that minor third. And so there again, that's getting out of our shape, playing the root there instead of there, and playing that minor third with our index finger. So you just kind of have to practice bending that note, stopping it on the upside, not letting it go down, in other words, before you stop the note. Hitting the 1 again. And so, of course, you can play both notes at one time. Whatever. So I just trying to get you out of that minor pentatonic shape for one. Add a note, or add a note that's just not in the shape, like the flat 3 on the first string, or the 9. And then getting out of position so that you playing the 1 instead of on the first string, on the second string, and then playing that minor third on the first string with your index, and getting that out of your minor pentatonic shape, which you wouldn't get necessarily out of the shape, that shape. And then also, as far as adding notes, like I say, adding that flat 5 is going to gain you access to a lot more bluesy sounds because of the flat 5. But first, just work on seeing that 9 and being able to just be in position, but slide up with your ring finger to 1. And if you have to count how many frets away on the second string the same note is, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you start from or count the same fret, then it'd be 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So when you're playing a minor 7 on that B string, when you're in shape, you got to know that that's a flat 7 is a whole step away from the root, and so it puts you right here. But you usually have your pinky leading the way in that shape, and so you have to be able to just kind of stretch that ring finger to get to that root again. So give that a try, get out of position, get back into position. Whatever, but just try to work back and forth. Where you might just start on the minor 3 instead of sliding down to 1, 1, flat 7. Now I'm back in shape, but my pinky should be here, and then I slide down to 5. And then ascending. So that's just kind of the beginning to getting you out of the shape, and then adding some notes that aren't in there to eventually get you into some other kind of licks. So give that a try.